with some special guests that I'm gonna bring on, and we're gonna get into this documentary. I'll tell you a little more about it. But this weekend, I had a great weekend. Went down to Houston, Texas, to see my Texas Southern University Tigers take on the Dion primetime coach, Jackson State, and it was built up to what it was going to be. 22,000 sold out stadium. Uh, Jackson State coming in with undefeated team, and uh, Texas Southern come with a three-week winning uh, weeks in a row, and really play good football, but wasn't able to overcome the talent that Jackson State had, and Jackson State ended up winning the game, uh, 41-14, 28-14 and a half, and they went on to take the game under control. But hey, God's been good. As you all know, guys, that I've been a football coach for 30 years, and everywhere I've been, I've won championships, and one of the greatest guys or greatest coaches that I always look at is my brother. Someone I grew up to, and I've never seen or been close to a coach that I think the world of. And for that, we was able to go to Tennessee State in 1996 and take a team that hadn't had wins in 9 seasons, and in 3 years we won the first black predominantly or PWI conference in 1998, and we went on to the next year in '99 and win the championship again, and also finished number one team in the country, not black school, FCS team in the country. And there's been, since from today and move back 22 years, there's not been another black school that has finished number one in the country. There's not been a black school to ever win a all-white conference. There's never been a black school to beat more than 3 or 4 PWI schools in one season. And my brother was the first coach to receive the Eddie Robinson Award. We broke all the seasonal records at Tennessee State, but it wasn't easy as it sounds. And we were able to pitch our story to Leonard Moon, out of Houston, Texas, writer, and then we were able to sell that to the guy I'm gonna bring on with my brother, Tyrone Dixon, who's a producer. He's produced. He's been in movies like Hustle and Flow, Bounce. He's made his own piece about skating. He lives in California, but he's also an instructor at Texas Southern University. So I would like to bring those guys on so we can get this thing rolling, and so we can let everybody know and let the country know that we not gonna let this history get away from us. Welcome, Mr. Dixon. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, young man. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm
Thank
great,
you for
man.
having me.
And I'm gonna do one of your numbers. This is a live show, so action. How's it going?
Yeah,
You
I
out in
can't
beautiful
complain.
California now?
Well, it's not so beautiful right now at the moment. We're getting some rain. We're excited about that because we haven't had rain in a very long time. So let the rain come down because we need it. We're in a serious drought. So, but being in LA is always a beautiful thing, regardless of whether it's rain or the sun is out. I love this. I love this place for all of that.
Yeah. Real quickly, Tyrone, you just started a part of this hopefully story documentary, uh, and this is history that need to be saved. What caught your eye when this was brought to you?
Well, for me, I mean, so like you said, I've been doing this for a while. I've worked with a lot of people. I've had the opportunity to do my own thing, create some opportunity. I did this documentary, Eight Wheels and Some Soul Brother Music, was the history of roller skating from a black perspective. That then I took that documentary and pitched it to 20th Century Fox as something that can help create a feature film about the world of roller skating and black people skating and all of that kind of jazz. And that became the feature film Roll Bounce, which is Pretty much a classic film today. Everybody loves it, and it was a very challenging process. However, what I took from that was that the concept of having something told, a story, a well told story, which is what Eight Wheels was, and then translating that into a feature film. So when you told me your story about you and your brother at Tennessee State, um, I it first of all I'd never heard of it, and that bothered me because it's one of those stories that we all should know and understand that we've been doing things for a very long time, right? You know, I love everything that Deion Sanders is doing, but when I heard your story, I realized he wasn't the first one, and so that really ignited my appreciation for it. But then, when telling a story at this level, you want to be able to check boxes, and I was able to check all the boxes, for your story as it relates to, a setup, inciting incident, subplots, a climax, resolution, and just all of those things that a good story needs to have. You have it, and I think other people have tried to tell your story through the newspaper articles and all of that, but I think it's much bigger than I think it's much bigger than we even think of it at this point. So that's why I came on, and that's what drew my attention because of its rareness. Um, and on top of that, I mean, what makes it even more unique is the fact that it was two brothers who did it together. And it's cold blooded to me.
Yeah, we church. If I'm a person watching this documentary and look at, or this show, I should say, I'm sorry, and I'm looking at a producer from out of California, Houston guy. I'm looking at the guy that's part of it. Uh, it's like you said earlier. I mean, we as black folks got to understand that where we come from and to restore the history. I just recently, I should say recently, I found out about the Tulsa bombing probably about 5 years ago, and that
Yeah,
happened way back. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And I keep in my mind, being in the SWAC conference of Eddie Robinson and selling out Yankee Stadium, the Astrodome, everywhere he took his team.
yeah,
Sort of like what Dion doing. Marino Casem and Archie Gunsling Cooley, who had 66,000 right there in Jackson Stadium Memorial with Willie Todden and the undefeated Alcorn Braves.
yeah.
And we tend to let that history, and we can't move forward until we understand that history builds the culture, you know.
Agreed. History
And
builds the culture. I love that.
yes,
You're so
yes.
right about that.
And black folks, in the 60s, they always were together. It's just now that a few of us are getting a couple of dollars here, a couple of career here, and all of a sudden we think the playing field is level, and not to continue to pull each other up.
Agreed.
What's your feel? I know you now, and we've been talking every Wednesday, and I know where your heart is.
Yeah, I mean, look. I'm an athlete. I play ball. Just coming from Texas, it feels like that just was a part of the DNA you had to have. You had to be able to do that, and I had a great appreciation for that space. One, two. Um, when I became when I be- when I started working in this business, Debbie Allen gave me an opportunity to do a documentary series, right, for the We Network. We actually launched that network when it first came out, and it was a show that profiled ordinary women doing extraordinary things. And I learned that the real importance of telling our stories, right? And I didn't understand the depth of it until I became an educator, and how seeing how in education a lot of things are being left behind for whatever reasons. I think maybe social media has something to do with that. I think this concept of uber capitalism has something to do with that, where we're just really focused on ourselves and how much money we can make, and not realizing that we all are going to be ancestors one day, and we need to act accordingly. And so that's one of the things that I heard a poet say, and it stuck with me. And I think that that's what we're doing with this project is we've got to leave it behind, and we've got to take responsibility for doing it. We can't expect anybody else to do it. And in doing that, I have to take responsibility and be accountable for teaching and making sure that we all understand and making you aware of the opportunity. I mean, maybe you would have figured this out sooner or later, but I just think that you and I having a conversation and talking about the value of a documentary, how important those are today, and where they sit in this concept of Black digital humanities. We talked about that.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and that's us taking responsibility of documenting our stories and leaving them in a space in which they can be shared. But not only just shared, but maintaining ownership in the process of sharing. Because I believe that's what's important. We've got to own our own stories and own the distribution of them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to make sure I give you your flowers. I'm big on that. I don't want to wait and keep things inside. And I'm gonna thank you for your time. And people are watching. They already know who I am. I want them to make sure they know who you are. Let's go back. You're a Houston native.
Yeah, born and
And
raised Houston, Texas.
and you played quarterback at
I
St. Thomas.
I did.
And then you say, "Let me leave the private boys alone and start going." You going over there with them real. You was back in the '80s with them real boys over at
yeah, yeah, yeah.
state championship boys.
I was at Yates in '85, and so we won a championship in '84 at St. Thomas,
The
TCIL
private boys.
4A. Yeah, and we used to beat up on Fur and Scarborough and Booker T. Washington. I remember running the football. I scored one against Scarborough. I scored three. They were big 5A school.
That's
I
right.
scored.
That's right.
We beat them 21-0. I
Okay.
scored all the touchdowns from the QB spot. I
Okay.
enjoyed
Okay. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's your time.
Yeah, yeah.
Get
But
out.
but but so then I transferred to Yates, and I went out there, and I was like, yo, I can't play ball out here with these cats. They're already stacked. I'm just gonna sit in the stands and root them on, and play baseball.
Yeah. 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 They had some cats now.
They had some cats that can play ball. I mean, Johnny Bailey was, he was an amazing
Yeah.
football player, and that really, I really found my love for filmmaking at Jack Yates,
Okay.
and that's when I
They
picked
have
up
a
a
program
camera.
there.
Yes, I had a program there. I was only taking one class, which was photography, and so I got a chance to just kind of move around with the camera, and I did drama. I was on the drama team, and that really lit the bug that was already there, and that led me to, choose to study that in school at TSU. But I
Right.
went off to the military for 4 years. I was an air traffic controller in the United States Navy. Came back to TSU, finished school in '94, moved to Los Angeles after working on a movie called Jason's Lyric. Was my first film.
Wow.
I was a PA on that film and met quite a few people who helped me when I moved to Los Angeles. And my second film in Los Angeles was Panther, about the Black Panther Party with Melvin Van Peebles and Mario Van Peebles. That was huge.
Yeah.
And one after another, I just kind of just started moving along. And eventually I got an opportunity to work with Deaf Pictures, Russell Simmons. I was a development executive there. We read screenplays and made movies. We did Gridlocked and How to Be a Player. And then I started directing. And then I started directing tons of music videos. And that's what got the eye of Debbie Allen, who hired me to produce and direct a TV series with her. We did 2 seasons of that, and that got me into documentaries. I came out here to make feature films. But then the documentary world is what brought me into a space of actually getting a feature done,
Right.
which was Roll Bounce, in a major way, going from a space of just having an idea and pitching it to a studio, them loving it, and then us developing and making that film. And then me bringing what I brought to the table, which was this whole cultural aspect of roller skating, to the film. And being a filmmaker made it easier for us to get the thing done. And so from that point on, I've said, I really want to start doing my own thing. And so I developed a screenplay about a Black Boy Scout troop. It's based on Willow Avenue's Baptist Church Troop 242 out of Houston, Texas. And they're a great troop. They have the more Black Eagle Scouts than any other troop in the nation. And so I thought I'd honor that by making a film, a comedy, kind of like the Bad News Bears. But so they used to be great. Now they suck. And now they need the old school troop leader to come back and lead them to glory again. And so we had Danny Glover attached, and, we still do. We're still trying to push forward and get that thing done. And we've got some interest from some other actors. So we'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, I've been doing these documentaries, and I know the value of them. And so, meeting you by chance, and then us having a conversation led to this. And I think that that's the beauty of it all. I mean, your story is a real story, and it's real valuable. After meeting your brother, really sold me even further on because then you told me a lot of stuff that I could visualize that I know we're going to make happen, that other people are going to find to be outstanding. So I'm with it. And I'm glad that you are willing to work with me on this project. And I thank you and your brother for sharing the opportunity.
Right, right. Well, real quick, we got one of our people who like to watch the show. It said to the both of these gentlemen, talk about the correlation between the Cole brothers inheriting a very low graduation rate among football players at Tennessee State in the classroom to the having 90% graduation rate during our tenure at Tennessee State.
Wow.
My brother's supposed to be on, but I know that the things that we done there, that's what's important at the end of the day, and that's why it's so important about black colleges graduating black people, black men, black women, and uh, and that's the thing that we made a priority, And even when I took over my programs, that our philosophy that we would tell our kids, look, we could sit here and win 2 or 3 national titles, 4 or 5 national titles. We'll get raises, and then what do you get if you don't get that piece of paper walking across that court, the stage? That's what it's all about. You got to get that piece of paper so you can make a living and be able to take care of your family. So, yeah, when he went to Tennessee State, they wasn't really graduating football players, and we were able to meet that and at least up to about 94%. Also, when I went to Texas Southern, they called the APR, average percentage rate of kids graduating from the time they went from the ninth grade to a senior. We had never met that threshold, which would have been 90%. And by the time my third year, we were over that 90%. I coached the first team that ever made the APR rating at Texas Southern. So, those are things that you feel good about. And those are things that when you get those calls from those players, of course, we get those calls from those players, uh, and it's telling you how what you meant to their life, and they share their success with you, and a lot of it because as they walked across the stage. All right,
Yeah.
there's
There
LC.
he is.
There, what's going on, Big Bro?
LC.
Not much there. Trying to.
All right, there's LC.
There he is.
What's going on, Big Bro?
LC.
Yeah,
Now,
turn your mic
Put your
down.
earbuds in.
Yeah.
is it down now?
Yeah.
Is,
Okay.
is it
Yeah.
down?
Yeah. It sounds much better.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Much better. You all right? Over there, at Allen University. Matter of fact, if you're looking at my brother now, you look over to his left side. That is the Eddie Robinson banner when you won the first Eddie Robinson Award for being the coach of the year. I think that was in '98.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, that's the banner up there on the wall. Uh,
man.
but the question was, LC, before you got on, was about uh, your 94%. You took Tennessee State players from below average to a 94% graduation rate by the time you left in your fourth year.
Yeah, we got there. That was an issue about about the guys graduating had a low percentage graduation rate. When we got there, I think it's somewhere between 20%, and by the time we finished, we was at 98% of the athletes or the football players graduating from Tennessee State. But also the great part about it, we had the number one student during that time, and he was a quarterback. And matter of fact, he was from Ohio. All right, he was from our high school, and I forget his first name was Larry, and Larry was a Mexico engineer. That's what he did, and we had quite a few guys. We averaged 30 guys a semester on the academic on the. And
Well,
that's very important, though. We understand all that, but you got to make sure that you carry this right here. Nobody can take this away from you. Your athletic ability is always going to diminish, but this right here will stay as long as you live a little bit.
yeah. One of the things, LC, we were just talking about before you came on is why the documentary is so important. I know, me and your career, quote unquote, as head coaches have been shortened. Sometimes I even think we blackball, but we definitely don't hang our heads on that. Why is the documentary so important to you?
Well, I think for me, it's really to get it out there and let everybody know that, black coaches can coach. No matter what division we're in, we can coach. And I think when you look at what we did in an all-white conference, we the first two guys that's ever done that before. It's just like everything in America. When you think about things in America, sometimes it's always hidden. And black people have did a lot of things in America, and a lot of people don't even know because it's the way history is. Just like America. They said Christopher Columbus discovered America, and that's what you learned when you was coming through school. That was always in the textbooks. That's what you heard, but that's not true. So,
Yeah. I,
uh,
I I can say one thing, about Deion Sanders, the success he's having. It is putting a spotlight of a black man coaching an HBCU school and the great job he's doing. Uh, but like we said earlier, Tyrone, it had been done before by this man I'm looking at on the screen, and it's very important that we don't lose that. But at the time now, with 90%, Tyrone, I don't know if you know, Tyrone, 90% of athletic directors in college sports are white. So the time is
Wow.
now uh, for us, and that's why this documentary is so important, not only just for our pat on the back, for black people, for administrators in school, of like LC just said, there's African American coaches are just not getting the opportunity to do it, and hopefully this film, Tyrone, uh, uh, will show them that we can do it and do it the right way in an all white conference.
Yeah, I think that's for me. I think that is the ultimate goal is to establish this documentary as a piece that explores not just the success of the both of you, but through the success of the both of you, that we're reminded of the success of coaches that came before you, as well as those who are going to come after you. Um, but you said a key thing, and which one of the things that I'm dealing with when I'm teaching about getting young people into this business is that when we have more executives in the room, when we have more representation in the room, then we get more representation out in the other areas of the industry. So when you say when we get 90% of athletic directors are white, then that's hard. that's a challenge there. So we've got to change that scope, and I think we got to talk about it, because no, I didn't know that, and I think people would be shocked to know that.
Right.
But then when you say that to them, then I believe you have to then be, which I think our documentary will do, which is one of my goals would be as the filmmaker, would be to also offer the solution of how we can make these changes moving forward, and so that we can grow this space, right? And I think that's the ultimate goal. Create
Right.
awareness, one,
Right.
two, shine some beautiful light on the work that you guys have done, and three, leaving a legacy behind that will always be there, a story that will be in a way that can teach, inspire, motivate, and encourage others along the way. And I think that's the beauty of it. We don't have to make anything up here, right? It's all
Oh,
there. It's all there. It's not like you walked into on the perfect team and blah blah blah. All of the conflicting issues, anything that you could have thought of, you said, LC, when we talked on the first day, there was a food fight. You had to handle the food. I'm like, on your first day,
right.
coach,
Yeah.
Man.
really?
Well, one of the things that I want to say to my brother, on live and to everyone, I'm the one convinced him to go to HBCU, and he watched me as a player coming up through Texas Southern. He put me in his car. We ran around recruiting when I was 19, 20, 21 years. So he knew the story. He knew the struggle that I had in going to a black college,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the shortcomings he had going to a PWI, but he had the master plan, and I just want to share that with him. That I know he don't have any regrets, but my brother was one of the best football coaches, black football coaches at the time. Shit, how many schools you been to, coach?
Uh,
15?
About a good 15, 16.
Yeah. And he was one of the top recruiters in college. So to make that jump from out of that system, I mean, he coached with Nick Saban, Tom Osborne, uh, 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 the guy at the Baltimore Ravens, the Harbaughs. He's beaten Eddie Robinson, Pete Richardson, all these guys, Doug Williams. But to make that jump and leave PWI, leave the big paycheck, and then now we here today. Uh, he's at Allen University, and I'm gonna say it again, blackball for being a head football coach. Uh, and shame on Tennessee State, and I don't know if that's the right thing to say, that they don't honor and respect him and make him a part of that university. That was the thing we talked about early, Tyrone. Then how can we grow? How can you leave that history alone? And I just want LC, to just, what did that mean to you? How you feel, today, and knowing that you're supposed to be somewhere at some head job.
Well, it was always a real tough decision to say, talking with you. And then I had to make real sure talking with Eddie Robinson. And, plus, before I made that decision, I talked to Coach Saban too. He advised me not to make that move. He told me not to make the move. But I just felt like deep in my heart that it was the right move for me to become a head coach. And, I can say I've been around a long time and hadn't got that opportunity. And this was an opportunity that I wasn't going to, let it pass by. And I just felt like we could turn Tennessee State around just like the other schools that I was at.
Yeah,
I
yeah. We turn around Alabama State, Lane College, Texas Southern.
right. So what I'm saying is that I was at the, you know, Cincinnati, Toledo, New Mexico State, Wisconsin, but I'm bringing players to there for the coaches there. So I felt like I could recruit and bring the players to where I'm at and be able to win with those players. And Tennessee State just happened to be the right place, right conference, and everything to do it in that conference to beat the best black schools and beat the best black schools. That's what we did. We did a combination. And that's what's so great about this. We did a combination that nobody ever believed that no black school could beat up the white schools. And we proved that point to them that it can be done. Anything is possible.
Yeah, I think Tyrone, I've said it to you before that what you're doing and doing this. I mean, it's so rewarding to us, that our hard work and our dedication, and we sacrificed a lot, uh, you know, um, to sit where we're sitting today, for it not to be appreciated. And again, I can't show you enough about the appreciation. AJ, who's behind the scenes right now, and Leonard Moon, who actually wrote the story. Leonard Moon is a writer out of Houston, who's a very good friend of mine, who wrote the story about my brother and us, and he actually sent the story out. And overseas, it got a big response overseas, and that had cast me and him to start talking about it 2 or 3 years ago. And of course, I brought it to my brother, and he was all for it. And man, just I know we ain't there yet, Tyrone, but we on the right road. It's just
I
follow the
would
yellow brick road.
I would agree with you.
Go
We're
ahead.
definitely on the right road,
Yeah.
and I think timing is everything. And I think with the idea of I think again, the what the optics are, because of Deion Sanders taking on that position brings light. It's a beacon to all those that came before him, and I think he would want to honor and recognize. And this is one of the ways it can be done. I think with streaming platforms as they are today, it's very competitive. They're looking for content. Not This is not just a sports story. This is a love story. This is a family story. There's a number of reasons why somebody would want to watch this, right? Um, um, there is this action. There is this competitive thing that's in there and that rolls underneath all of the layers of the piece, and I think that we are on the right road. We just got to stay on it, and we will, because we're all champions here, and we understand what that means, and I believe that you know you know HBCU Go, ESPN Plus. You know, there are a number of other outlets that would love to see this story be told. And I'm just saying within the documentary. Remember, as we talked earlier, I said, documentary to feature film. That's kind of my process. I believe that one of the ways to get films done is do a documentary, make it well done, and give it and demonstrate that it has validity in the marketplace, and then you can move on to the next phase.
Yeah.
I think this story definitely has those legs, and I'm dedicated to making it happen with you guys. And to the writer, Leonard Moon, I think it was an outstanding article that he wrote. It was one thing to talk to you guys on the phone. It was another thing for me to read it and go, "Oh yeah, why hasn't anybody else?" I'm looking around and shake my shoulder.
Right.
Nobody else got the hell of this.
Right. Right.
Oh,
Right.
let's go,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's a story. It's a story and a half,
Yeah.
and I know I haven't even heard the half of it yet. So I'm looking forward to that process.
Yeah. We've spoken to HBCU Go, the CEO there, Mr. Curtis Simon, who was on the show. So it looks like we got some cloth in it. We got some claws in it that's real good. Well, can you explain, the steps that we have to take, and if somebody's watching this and want to be a part of, what would I say, Tyrone, the financial piece or the
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I'm sponsored. Which what we're looking for right now
right,
are people who would sponsor this package process. And what I mean by package process is there's a budget, 10 grand that covers the cost of putting together a proof of concept, and some people like to call it a sizzle reel, and then a lookbook, which is a PowerPoint presentation, a deck that explains everything about it, why the story should be told, what is it going to make in the marketplace, what's its potential to do well in the marketplace, along with that proof of concept. And then we take those things and we take it to Simon, right, Mr. Simon, and say, hey, look at what we got going on here. This is what this story would look like and how it would feel and how it fits in with your network and the things that you're growing with your network. Or the same thing, we would take it to other networks the same way. As well to venture capitalists who may say, well, let's do this independently. How much is this bad boy going to ultimately cost you? And we give them a number and we say, this is it. And then boom, they jump on, and now we're in the ownership pocket space.
Right.
Now we can really own the product and then license it to all of these other entities, which is what I would believe the ultimate goal would be. And in saying that, I think Mr. Simon is I think that's a great start.
Right.
He and that organization and the trajectory of it, the projections associated with that, I think this fits so well. I'm doing another one very similar to this about Barbara Jacket,
Right.
who was the track coach at Prairie View A&M, and then went on to coach the Olympic team in 1992. And if we don't tell her story, because Prairie View has not done her justice, and I don't think it's purposeful, fellas, that these institutions don't. They just don't know how, and we have to be the ones to step up and not blame them for not doing it, but we've got to take responsibility and accountability for making it happen, going into those communities, raising awareness, which is this documentary we're going to make is going to do. Can you imagine this documentary being shown in a major theater, in and around the area of Tennessee State, and everybody's able to come out and see this documentary about the history of their university and what they did great at some point. You feel me? They would love to ride on it. It's not just about the greatness of the two of you, but it was the greatness of them allowing you to do it.
Right.
I think that's huge. So, and you just said the story did well overseas, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we already know how it's going. There's a market, for someone wanting to see the story. So I think we have to do the due diligence of getting that package together, and then everything else is going to fall into place.
Yeah. One of the guys said the story goes beyond sports and delves into overcoming momental adversity. These lessons can apply to anyone's life, black or white. Let's get to the fun part of it. I mean, the man right there, I'm looking at my brother who, people don't understand.
Good point. The guy made
One of the
some great points.
One of the questions, I'm always asked, man, how do you work with your brother? Because I guess in business or whatever, family usually can't work together,
Yeah, that's usually the saying.
Boys, LC falling in at number 4. They don't know he used to have me on his, he had to come get me from the elementary school down the street because they had practice that afternoon, put me on the handlebars, and we would ride. And, and my brother was, you talking about 5-star athlete, he was probably 6-star because he was recruited by everybody in the country. Everybody. I had, I know I'm going to go back. Some Woody Hayes in the house, Bo Schinbacker, all these greats. And, can you imagine, me just looking up at my brother and his shoulder pads. And, I mean, Superman didn't have nothing on him. He was the star of the team, and he was dating the best cheerleader ever, but he's married to the greatest woman in the world, Miss Parker, Mr. Parker. But go ahead, LC. I know I told that story before you told
it. No, hey, I just always had to get, roll out my hands and always take a bow to my parents. I think that's where it all started from. My mother and father, and then, having 8 brothers. And, the fantastic thing that our parents made sure we got along together. There was no fighting or anything like that. And, I always had to say my mother because I would just look at her. Sometimes it was Christmas time and she used to get those candy canes for about that long. And a woman can break up 9 pieces of candy cane and make sure everybody got a piece in their mouth. That's fantastic. She would take a candy bar and chop that up and everybody would get a piece. I mean, it was amazing, that she could do those types of things. I just always just got to take my hat off to my father who, taught us about working and going to church. And, we sit in the church all in the same pew, on the same pew. And funny thing, we used to sit in church on the pew and everything. My father used to put that bowl on our head and cut our hair around like that, and the guys used to pick at us, and they'd be touching us in church, hitting their heads. At the church, we take them out in the back and whoop them up. We Christians in church, but when church is out, we in the back whooping them up. But that all goes from that. Then being at the boys' club, and then we always followed each other because I had a brother in front of me and had an older brother that really the one that started playing football. And I used to go down to the school and be the manager and do the same thing JC gonna tell you. Used to clean the muds off the cleats and do all those things like that. You just kind of followed in that line a little bit there, and it just kind of grew on you a little bit there. And then I think everyone else in line went that way. And then then when you play football, like I said, in the neighborhood, I had 10 friends. JC had 10 friends. Other had 10 friends. So you had almost 50 some guys at your house every day. Yeah. And my mother fed them all. So that was, it was just always like that, and seeing your competition was right there in your yard. So when you playing basketball or playing football and everything, everybody's all right there. So you couldn't help but have a little bit of a skill level, and also, that giving that comes from, I say my parents all the time.
Yeah. Well, all right, we gonna move all that. We came to Tennessee State. I know the first incident you had was the food fight. You had them throwing balloons off the roof. Why somebody want to look at this show, Tyrone, or this documentary or movie? They had a gang on the team called the Fifth Floor Boys that we had to break up. We had a guy that was on scholarship. His father would threaten the administration. This guy was on scholarship for 5 years, full scholarship. Never put a uniform, a game uniform on. But he was on scholarship. Like, we were like, who is this kid? And who is this kid? And the kid was a good kid, but he couldn't play at the level where we wanted him at.
He couldn't play dead in a Western.
and his father played pro ball. And wow. Everybody loves their son. Yeah. It's sort of like the East Side High, Mr. Clark. I forget what they call the movie, where at the end of the movie,
Joe Clark.
When the lady was telling everybody how Mr. Clark needs to be in jail, and all of a sudden the mayor, I think, say, look, we got to get him out of jail. And here come LC, give me the microphone, and then he took control of the whole football team and program.
Yeah, it was like JC said, it was different. It was a challenge though, because every day it was from the food fight, throwing water off the balloons. We had what we call hazing. Then I found they was whooping my kids up in the dorm. The older guys was whooping the guys with belts. That was an initiation at Tennessee State. They say that went back for years and years. I just happened to just come up in the dorm, seeing them and whooping my freshmen with belts. What that got to do with winning a football game and building that camaraderie that you wanted among players? It was just so much. They had a party where they would fight. I mean, we had to really whip this whole program. I had one kid, I think he had a drinking problem. We ended up getting him from Memphis. Well, he was pouring beer in his cereal. He didn't pour milk. He ate his cereal with beer.
And would go to the weight room drunk.
Yeah, go to the weight room drunk. And
so the players, by that time though, LC, we had everything in motion.
Yeah.
They brought him to LC's office. Coach, he got to go.
I think about we went on the trip one time. Everybody was asleep. We went to Western Kentucky. Everybody went to sleep. Well, two of my older brothers, they was coming to town, coming to the game. They came in around about 12:30. So I got up to go get my brothers. Well, all of a sudden I seen players running around the halls and all this. I said, what in the world is going on here? So I turned around, got the coaches up. I said, check every room.
Yeah.
So I started checking every room, found out girls in the room. I mean, at 12 o'clock at night, they got girls. I don't even know how they even got these girls. They had call girls come to the hotel where we were at. It was unbelievable. I mean,
this was in our first year. And we ended up suspending about 7 of them, Tyrone.
No, I suspended 12 starters, and they asked me. So when we got back to parents, parents are always gonna call and why they suspending my son and all that. I said suspending your son because he could have got me fired, got the university in trouble. So the president calls me up, and I talked to the president. The president asked me, "You sure that you want to do this? You sure that you want to get, suspend these guys?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're gonna suspend these guys." I said, "Because one thing, Mr. President, if something had happened, you would have fired me or fired the coaching staff, saying that we weren't responsible with these kids on the road." So that was very important that we had to suspend them 12 starters. Now we put up a good fight and everything, winning lost the game by a field goal. So those guys who out there just went through a learning trend. So, but everything was a learning trend. It was just like you probably see in a lot of programs that are not winning. They have internal problems, and if you don't solve your internal problems, then you're not going to win.
Yeah, a lot, and I just can remember a lot of things that Deion Sanders say today. You said back 20 years ago, and those things kind of upset administrators. Like Deion was like, why are our checks coming in late for our athletes? Well, when you went to Tennessee State, you pretty much said some of the same thing, and not only did you say that, you were able to get them their Pell Grants and their needy funds, and kind of explain that.
Yeah, well, we got there, and I knew you're supposed to get needy fund because all the universities that I've been at, the NCAA said the kids get needy fund, you get your financial aid, and so I started finding out, asking the players when it was around time for needy fund, where our players wasn't getting their needy funds, and I went to our compliance officer and asked them, well, why our players are not getting their needy fund? And they told me, well, we put all the money into the pot, and just in case if somebody gets sick or something like that, we use the money for that. Well, that was against the NCAA rules. So how can you take my money and give it to another player? That's not the way the rule goes. Even when we got down to financial aid, I would be out of practice, and they would never call me in there to sit down to make sure my kids are getting financial aid.
Right.
They were doing was taking our financial aid and the scholarships I was giving to the guys. They was taking that money and funneling it back somewhere else, and our kid was coming out of their pocket and had to pay full scholarship. And in one double A, you get a certain amount of scholarship money. So it was a lot of things that you had to work. And I think, like JC said, some of the people got mad about it, and that you were finding out the loopholes of way things were operating. And I think that's the reason some of the coaches probably was failing that coach at Tennessee State, because everything wasn't up on board. And we just had that knowledge. That's why I say that's why we was a great combination, because JC went to black college. I went to white college in Nebraska. So I knew how everything was ran and been through it. He kind of like was going through it when he was at Texas Southern and stuff. I would go there. It would be a Army barracks when I go in his room. I'm thinking it's like two over here, two over here. It's like 6 guys in one room at TSU.
Yeah. Oh,
6 players in one room. Now all of them getting charged. The same money. So somebody is keeping some money.
Hey, we would go on a road trip, Ty, and we would get back that night or 4 or 5 in the morning for riding the bus. You had to run back to the dorm to get your bed. We had a mattress. Them days is man. But at Tennessee State, when we got those guys all together, after that second year, we finished 4-7 and 4-6-4, and then we got to that third year, the year. You could tell we were stronger, mentally we were stronger, and I just remember that when we started beating these teams, and offensively we were just superb. I mean, we broke every conference record, seasonal record, and we were superb. And I just remember when we would walk across the street, and the guys, they wouldn't shake our hand. They would just kind of clap our hand and keep moving. And I knew then that when we started getting 60 and 70 guys staying for the summer, I knew then that we were going to be pretty good.
Even our 98 season was kind of tough too, because that's when the Titans came to the town. The
Yeah.
Titans took over our weight room, locker room, training table, dormitory. They took everything and they just pushed us to the side. I mean,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
how they pushed us to the side, and we couldn't even go on our own practice field or anything like that. Vanderbilt and do some things with them over at Vanderbilt, because we really couldn't even use our own facilities because the school, was letting the Titans, take over everything like that. So we had to fight through that. But you know, a lot of times too, I always had to go back to Women of the World, because I think Women of the World, the one that ended up donating, giving me $30,000 a year. As long as I was at Tennessee State, this guy provided funds to our school, and I went to school with his daughter and his son-in-law. And when he found out that I had got the job, he turned around and ended up donating $30,000 to us to give us, shorts, socks. We didn't have none of that kind of stuff, and I can imagine some of the historic schools are still going through that stuff at this stage right now, that it's not provided with all the funds. You got to have resources, and I think that's why Jackson State is winning right now, because they're getting resources, and resources make a big difference. When you can dress nice, you can ride on the right buses. I mean, the buses we was going on at first, I don't think Harry Tubman would have used the buses. But when you go to the hotel, you got 4 or 5 guys in one room. So that's the changeover that need to be changed. And that's what I say. What Deion's doing over there, he's giving them guys first class, and that's why he's getting first class athletes. If you want to win and have first class, then you got to treat them guys like that, and you'll get the results from it.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, it was just times and
Racing car.
yeah. So those are all some of the stories. Of course, me and LC had some intimate stories. That we actually shared together of that we hadn't really talked about, or just putting the team together and working through personnel. And game time situations. Middle Tennessee State. That we end up losing the game by 1 point. And so it was a great time. Uh, you know, Tyrone, again, you taking on this project for us. Uh, we want to thank you. I know we still at the early stages. Uh, some of your last remarks of where we going from here, why this project should be supported, and it's being supported, but you always need a little bit more.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I think, the audience has gotten a taste of what we would be exploring with the documentary. And for me, it's also very visual. I mean, I can see everything that you're saying. I can feel everything that you're saying. And, it would be our job to collectively pull the images and all of that stuff together to make this story work. But I think it's a no-brainer for anyone who believes in a really good story that's not just about sports. It's about overcoming adversity, like one of the listeners was saying, one of the viewers was saying. I think that it's a love story. I think it's a family story. And I think that when we support these types of projects, we get an opportunity to see something great, see something magical happen, especially within the industry. There's a lot of stuff that people want to do, but this type of stuff, right? That's real, that's authentic, that has legs, that can go into this transmedia space where you can take the same story, you can write a book about it, make a movie about it. There's a whole thing. I think that's the thing, and I think for those who are supporting it, continue to support. And for those of you who are considering, we need sponsors to get it to the next level. And when we get it to the next level, it's going to be a slam dunk. Like I said, I'm looking at 3 champions on this call, and I think when you put those ingredients in the pot, you're hard pressed to lose.
Yeah. I mean, that's well said. I mean, winners, as they always saying, iron sharpens iron. And it's unfortunate that we're not where we should be uh, as far as in this coaching profession. I think where we should be as men,
Yes.
healthy, uh, not feeling sorry for ourselves. We still have our hands open to a lot of our coaches that have came up underneath us. I mean, we got coaches at Michigan State, Pittsburgh Steelers, University of Arkansas, head coaches, bunches of high school coaches who have either coached under LC or coached under me or either played for LC or played for me. It's important to have a winning ingredient. See, Coach Harbaugh at the Baltimore Ravens, he had that. He has that winning ingredient, and he had got that from his father because his father was a winner, and all he's done was take that ingredient with him wherever he's been. And unfortunate for black coaches, we can't do that. We try to do that, but we're not around long enough, and we're not given those major opportunities to do so. LC, any last remarks?
Yeah, I just, want people to know that, hey, stick to the story and you hear the story because you're going to hear a lot of odd stuff that people talk about that's very irrelevant to this story, but this story is a true story coming from two of the people who was right there, and quite sure we got a lot of players around once we start to get their part, and I think it'll really, all come together.
Yeah. Most definitely, we got the support of the players. You guys, y'all, we all got a group chat that we still, that 1999, 98 and 99 football team, we got a group chat that we still we still together today, and we support each other and we keep each other in touch with each other about how everybody's kids are doing as well. I think that just speaks value. And
did I see that you coached the Heisman Trophy winner or Heisman Trophy candidate?
Heisman Trophy candidate, yeah, and Leon Murray.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a 3,000-yard passer his junior year, and unfortunately, he was on his way. He got hurt in the middle of the season, and our backup guy came and took us the rest of the way undefeated. Yeah. But all that stuff hopefully can come out. Hopefully, whatever is for us could happen and be on the screen. But it ain't just for us. Like you said, it's a family story. I can't say enough about my brother and the success he's had. I want to thank both of you guys for giving me the time. Man, when you're having fun, it's short. But we got production meetings tomorrow. Hopefully we can get in touch and catch up on what we need to turn in. To my audience, thank you again. Go TSU Tigers. And if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, tie a knot, hold on tight. Ain't nobody bad like you. HBCU Stroll, thank you.
Yeah, Coach.
My name is JM&E, and I won $500 on the lunch money for keeping up with the Jonas Bracket Challenge.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, August 14th, 2023. Number 1. Over 70 years ago, Henrietta Lacks was a mother and tobacco farmer who sought medical treatment for cervical cancer at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. Researchers discovered the uniqueness of the Black woman's cells, the source of the HeLa cell line. In 2021, the Lacks estate filed a lawsuit against the multi-million-dollar biotech company Thermo Fisher for profiting from the HeLa line without consent from the Lacks estate. On what would have been the 103rd birthday of Henrietta Lacks, family attorney Ben Crump announced a settlement. Terms were not disclosed. Number 2. The devastating wildfire on the Hawaiian island of Maui was officially declared the deadliest in U.S. history. As of Sunday, the number of dead was 93 and expected to climb, with hundreds of people still missing. In West Maui, over 2,000 historical and cultural structures, mostly residential, have burned along with vehicles, creating a steel graveyard on parts of the island. The search and rescue operations have stepped up following the arrival of National Guard troops. Number 3. The Black Health Matters column Monday focuses on the rare disease amyloidosis. It's characterized by a buildup of abnormal amyloid deposits in the body. Amyloid deposits can build up in the heart, brain, kidneys, spleen, or other organs, and a person may have amyloidosis in one organ or several. In the case of one health reporter, this mysterious disease affected their mother's heart. Read more about it in today's newsletter. Number 4. Kenosha, Wisconsin police are under fire after arresting and charging the wrong people after a traffic accident. Officers responded to reports of a rollover crash near an Applebee's restaurant where multiple people fled the scene. According to a criminal complaint, an African-American male and African-American female with a baby fled towards nearby stores. Police encountered Jamel English, who was with his wife and holding their baby. Cell phone footage shows employees grabbing the baby and passing it off as multiple officers tackled English to the ground. The Kenosha Police Department is conducting an internal investigation as the real couple was discovered in the restaurant. Number 5, the biblical meaning of blessed is to be fully satisfied due to God's favor on your life, regardless of your circumstances. Some of the blessings that matter the most are Christ dying on the cross for our sins, God's forgiveness, and God's presence with us always through the Holy Spirit. You may ask, how do we unlock God's blessings? Simple. Delight ourselves in Him. Read more about what it means to be blessed in today's newsletter. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Being open to things that you don't know or understand leads to an opportunity to grow. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with social justice contributor Coy Malone and comedian Chris Paul as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Barbara Scotia College, an HBCU in Concord, North Carolina, needs our help. The What You Need to Know team is asking our supporters and alumni and friends of Barbara Scotia to help them meet their immediate and pressing needs by donating to help Barbara Scotia rise. Please join the thousands of donors from around the world who are stepping up to save one of the nation's oldest HBCUs. Visit SybylWilkes.com for more information. Celebrate Black filmmakers rooted in HBCU culture at HBCU First Look. It takes place November 10th through the 12th at Howard University. Visit HBCUFirstLook.com for more information. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, the American Heart Association and Black Health Matters. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SybylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.